What's up, everybody? Jarrett from Empire of Assets here, and today we are covering the top 10 most expensive Metazoo sales on eBay for the month of September. So be sure to stick around and see what was the most expensive card sold in September. Let's start at the bottom. These were all sales from September. I did just go on sold listings, highest price, and then scrolled through eBay to see what we could find. There has been a huge huge jump in prices recently. So it wasn't a huge shocker that a lot of these came in the last 7 days of September. But let's start at the bottom. And I did do all my price research on 130 point because a lot of these were OBO offers and you can't see those on eBay. Super annoying. But I did try to do the best I could with the prices, not guaranteed to be 100% accurate. As always, you never know with eBay listings. At the bottom, we have the Kickstarter Mothman holographic BGS 9.5. This card sold for a whopping $5,000. A very expensive card in a very good grade. So that was the number 10 card at $5,000. There was a lot of repetition in this list. Obviously, if a Kickstarter booster box is selling for $8,000 and 10 of them have sold, I don't want my whole list to just be Kickstarter booster box, Kickstarter booster box, Kickstarter booster box. So I did only list each product one or two times. There's a couple of Mothmans in here, so I did list those multiple times, but I did not do more than one booster box because I think you kind of get the point. So to get some variety in our list, I did have to go back to the end of August for this next listing, and that was a Sam Sinclair black border sample card in a PSA 8. So a decently low grade, lower than what you'd normally expect. These sample cards were a little rougher in the print quality, and obviously Metazoo hadn't blown up for the majority of the time that the sample cards were out there, so they may have been handled not quite as delicately as some cards. And obviously there is only, I believe, 50 of the holographic version and 50 of the non-holo version. So a super rare card. This sold for $5,300, and that was the Sam Sinclair sample card. Moving up, we have another Kickstarter Mothman Holo card, this time in a PSA 10, and that did sell for $6,000, so $1,000 more than the BGS 9.5. Next card we have was a raw Chaos Crystal sample card. This one did sell fairly recently for a whopping $6,700. An absolutely huge sale of that card. The Chaos Crystal has been referred to or compared to the Black Lotus of Magic the Gathering. It has a very similar playable effect. It's a gorgeous card, and I would say probably easily the most rare and important and desirable artifact card, but then also I'd say it's probably number 2 or 3 total cards in the set. Super highly desirable, and again, there's only 50 of the holographic versions of those cards made. Next up is another black border sample card, and that was the Wendigo from SGC, graded in a 9.5. Interesting that this card sold for $7,000 because it is graded SGC, and normally those cards are quite a lot cheaper. But obviously when you have a card as rare as this, the amount out there and the amount for sale at any one given time is really low. So if you want this card, you're going to have to pay for it, and that buyer paid $7,000. The next card is again another sample card. You see a common theme here. Sample cards seem to be the most desirable cards for sale. This was a Quetzalcoatlus sample black border card again in the full holographic version in a PSA 9. So now you're at basically a really good PSA 9 grade in a sample card. This was sold as a best offer. The best offer was accepted at $7,500. So another $500 above the Wendigo. These cards just keep climbing. Obviously, this is basically the holy grail of Metazoo cards, with there being so few made. And I continue to think that these will be the most desirable cards probably ever made for Metazoo as the game increases in age. The next card is coming back around to the Kickstarter Mothman Holo. This is a PSA 10. This was after the huge spike where I would say midway through September, Kickstarter booster boxes were between $4,000 and $5,000. Then within basically a day, they jumped up to $10,000. They have since settled back around $8,000, but an astronomical rise. This card was after that big jump, and it was a Kickstarter Mothman holographic PSA 10, basically the crown jewel of a Metazoo card collection. It is a card that was in the first actual set of 159 cards in the Kickstarter version. There's not a lot out there in a perfect PSA 10. Pretty much doesn't get any more perfect than this, and that card sold for $9,500. An absolutely huge sale. Then we're going to have a item that I already talked about, and that is the Kickstarter booster box. One of those sold for $9,999. This is absolutely crazy to me for a game that came out in March, basically 6 months since launch. You could buy a Kickstarter booster box for $100, and if you had bought one and held on to it till now, it would now be worth $10,000, which is an absolutely insane increase in price. I don't think we've seen anything similar in the last 6 months as far as any other collectible division. Maybe a video game has done that, but I don't think so. 100 to 10,000 is absolutely incredible, and that was the Kickstarter booster box that sold for basically $10,000. The next one is a super interesting card that you guys probably don't know the history of or the story with, and that is the Archcaster Tournament medal. So what happened here? There haven't actually been any Metazoo tournaments where medals have been awarded. So this was actually a mistake. At one of the conventions, if you were a Patreon member, there was 3 tiers to the Patreon. You could go up to the booth. I did this at the Chicago National, provide proof that you were a Patreon member, and then you would get your Patreon medal cards. I received 4 of them total, 2 of the lower level and then 2 of the middle level. And then apparently at one of the conventions, not the National, but a different one, there was a mix-up, and the people working the booth gave out tournament medals instead of Patreon medals. And this Archcaster is one of the highest tiers of the tournament medals to be given away. I think there's only 7 that slipped through the cracks that were given away. Don't know if that's confirmed or not. I did see that number. I think on the eBay listing it says only 7 were given away. It's hard to tell if these cards will ever be distributed. You wouldn't think so, because if they were given away by mistake, it would kind of take away from people that actually won tournaments if there was 7 other people that didn't win the tournament that also had the card. So this could be a super, super rare, basically error card that is never seen anywhere else and could be one of the rarest Metazoo cards of all time. And the price reflects that. This card is the second most expensive that sold in the month of September, and it sold for $10,000. Absolutely insane. It's a cool card. I like the flavor text. It says it's going to pay for your flights and like your travel and something else for the tournament. I don't know if they still plan on actually doing that, but an absolutely insane card most people probably don't know about, and most people probably don't know the story on. The last item to sell is one that has caused some controversy on one of my last videos, and that was the Metazoo First Edition, non-Kickstarter, so just First Edition, Red Ink PSA 8 card. This card was listed for sale. I believe it was a bid, not 100% sure, but it does look like it sold for $11,000. However, if you click on that listing and look at it, the card was relisted the next day for $9,000, which means it wasn't actually sold for $11,000. I'm not going to get into that in this video. There was a huge discussion in the last video. Take it for what you will. It seems a little suspicious to me that it was relisted the next day for $9,000. What is that card actually worth? Really tough to say. Maybe some eBay shenanigans going on, maybe not. Not saying it's the buyer's fault, not saying it's not the buyer's fault. I don't know, but that was the most expensive sold card that didn't really sell, which means the actual number 1 card is that Archcaster Tournament medal, which has... Now hold up just a second. The person talking to you in that video before was past Jarrett. Today is future or present tense Jarrett, I guess. And I recorded that video on, I believe, like September 29th. And I was just re-looking at the data, and there was another sale of an absolutely huge card on the 29th of September. So I did have to go back and film this little clip to put into the video. And that sale, you guys probably can guess it. It was another Red Ink card. This time, it doesn't look like there was any sort of funny shenanigans. It was one of 5 PSA 10 red ink cards. It was listed for $30,000, and according to 130 Point, that card was sold and accepted an offer of $12,800, putting it well over the 5-digit club. An absolutely insane card. It's gorgeous. Obviously, if you've been following Metazoo, you know how desirable of a card this is. Estimated to only be 100 in existence. Like I said, only 5 PSA 10s, and this is your highest sale in September of 2021 for Metazoo, the $12,800 PSA 10 red ink, probably what you could call right now the holy grail of all Metazoo cards, except for maybe a sample Mothman. Absolutely insane card. But now back to the rest of the video. Tournament medal, which has a super crazy story, and I think probably deserves to be the most expensive card in the month of September. I'm going to try and do these cards every month. It's a fun way to get a little recap. Metazoo has gone absolutely crazy with about 20 days to go until Nightfall releases. I could see these prices continuing to stay where they are or climb a little bit. Then once Nightfall comes out, I do think it's possible some of the Cryptid Nation cards could cool off a little, but maybe not if there's a lot more people getting into it. They like Nightfall, they want to go back and collect Cryptid. The prices could keep soaring. Basically, they could go up, they could go down, nobody knows. But it is a great time to be a part of the Metazoo community and in the hobby. Thanks guys for watching. That's all I got in today's video. Leave a comment if you have any questions or you just want to say something about your thoughts on these top sales from September. Make sure to subscribe and I will catch you in the next video.